Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Life Unscripted. Today, we're going to talk about why real change doesn't happen by forcing yourself to be different, but by rewiring the way your mind works. Because once your brain changes, everything else in your life follows. Why is change so difficult? Why do we try so hard to improve, only to find ourselves falling back into the same old patterns? We make resolutions, set goals, promise ourselves that this time will be different. Yet, in the end, we often feel stuck. It's frustrating, isn't it? But what if I told you that the problem isn't you? What if the real issue is something deeper, something hidden in the way your brain is wired? We tend to blame ourselves for our lack of progress. I must not have enough discipline. Maybe I just don't have what it takes. Why do I keep making the same mistakes? But here's the truth, it's not about willpower, and it's not about trying harder. The real reason we struggle to change is that our brain is designed to resist change. Your brain has been shaped by years of habits, experiences, and subconscious programming, and unless you actively rewire it, it will always pull you back to what it finds familiar. Think about it. Have you ever decided to start waking up early, go to the gym, or eat healthier? Maybe for the first few days you stick to it. You feel motivated, excited even. But then one day you wake up and don't feel like exercising. You tell yourself you'll do it tomorrow. The next day, the same thing happens. Before you know it, you're back to your old habits. What happened? It wasn't just laziness. It was your brain pulling you back into its comfort zone. The brain loves efficiency. It doesn't like spending extra energy making new decisions, so it relies on automation, patterns of thinking, and behaving that have been reinforced over time. This is why we tend to react to situations in the same way, even when we consciously want to respond differently. For example, let's say you want to be more confident at work, speak up in meetings, or share your ideas without hesitation. You tell yourself, next time I'll speak up. But the moment arrives and suddenly you feel nervous, hesitant. You stay silent. Why? Because your subconscious mind has been programmed to avoid risk, to stay safe, to follow the patterns it knows. If we want to truly change, we have to stop trying to force ourselves through willpower alone. Instead, we need to rewire the subconscious patterns that dictate our actions. We need to train our brain to see things differently, to respond differently. This means becoming aware of the thoughts we repeat to ourselves, the beliefs we hold about our abilities, and the way we interpret the world around us. Take a moment to reflect. How do you view challenges? When something goes wrong, is your first instinct to blame yourself, to think you're not good enough? Or do you see it as an opportunity to grow? The way you interpret experiences determines how your brain is shaped. If every failure reinforces the belief that you're not capable, then your brain will create a pattern of avoiding risks, of staying small. But if you start seeing failures as feedback, as necessary steps toward growth, your brain will learn to handle setbacks differently. Here's another example. How do you react to stress? Some people, when faced with a stressful situation, immediately feel overwhelmed, anxious, or paralyzed. Others seem to stay calm, focused, and adaptable. What's the difference? It's not personality. It's conditioning. If your brain has been conditioned to associate stress with danger, it will trigger a fear response. If your brain has been trained to see stress as a challenge, something that can be managed, then it will respond with resilience instead of panic. The good news is your brain is not fixed. It can change. This is called neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to rewire itself based on new experiences, thoughts, and behaviors. And this means that no matter how long you've been stuck in a certain way of thinking or behaving, you have the power to reprogram your mind. But how do you do that? You start small. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to change is attempting a complete transformation overnight. They expect themselves to suddenly become disciplined, positive, fearless all at once. But the brain doesn't work that way. Real change happens through repetition, through consistent small shifts in how you think and act. For example, let's say you want to become more positive. Instead of trying to force yourself to feel happy all the time, start with one small practice: gratitude. Every morning, write down 3 things you're grateful for. It sounds simple, but over time, this rewires your brain to focus on what's good rather than what's missing. Or let's say you want to build confidence. Instead of waiting for some big moment to prove yourself, start with small wins. Speak up in a low-pressure situation. Share your opinion in a casual conversation. Each time you do, you reinforce a new pattern in your brain, one that tells you it's safe to express yourself. Another powerful way to reprogram your brain is through self-talk. Most of us are not aware of how much negative self-talk runs in the background of our minds. I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. What if I fail? These thoughts shape your reality because your brain believes what you repeatedly tell it. So if you want to change, start catching these thoughts and replacing them with new ones. Instead of "I'm not good enough," say "I am learning and growing." Instead of "what if I fail," say "failure is part of success." At first, it might feel unnatural, but repetition is key. The more you repeat positive messages to yourself, the more your brain will accept them as truth. One of the simplest but most effective ways to shift your subconscious is changing the way you frame your experiences. Instead of saying "I have to go to work," say "I get to go to work." Instead of thinking "I have so many problems," shift it to "I have challenges that will make me stronger." These small language shifts change how your brain processes reality. Also, be mindful of the information you consume. Your brain is constantly absorbing and internalizing whatever you expose it to. If you surround yourself with negativity, news that fuels fear, people who complain, content that reinforces self-doubt, your brain will adopt that perspective. But if you intentionally expose yourself to positivity, uplifting books, inspiring conversations, empowering content, you start reprogramming your subconscious in a different direction. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. The goal is not to never feel negative emotions or to never struggle. The goal is to train your brain to respond to life differently, to recognize that you always have a choice. You can choose how you interpret situations. You can choose the thoughts you focus on. You can choose what patterns you reinforce in your mind. So ask yourself right now, what is one small thing you can start doing today to shift your mindset? Maybe it's catching a negative thought and reframing it. Maybe it's expressing gratitude. Maybe it's choosing to focus on solutions instead of problems. Whatever it is, start now. Because every small change adds up. And over time, those small changes will rewire your brain, reshape your habits, and transform your life. You don't need to force yourself to change. You just need to train your brain to see the world differently. And once your brain changes, everything else will follow. So, the next time you find yourself stuck in the same patterns, remember, it's not about trying harder or forcing change through sheer willpower. It's about training your brain to see the world differently, to react differently, to believe in new possibilities. Change doesn't happen overnight, but every small shift in thought, every new perspective, every conscious choice adds up. Your brain is always learning, always adapting. So why not start teaching it something new today? Because once your brain changes, your life changes. The choice is yours. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you, please like and subscribe. Take care, and see you next time.